call to order the special meeting of Thursday, May 30th, 2019. It is 6:58, and we'll start with the roll call.
Alderman Magley?
Yeah.
Alderman Rogers?
Here.
Alderman Borman?
Yes.
Alderman Wilkins?
Present.
Alderman Hudson?
Here.
Alderman Motley? Here.
All right, we'll do the pledge of allegiance now, please. Stand with me, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're at the section where we'll ask for comments from the citizens, and when you come up, if you would, please state your name and your address for the record, if you would, please, if you're going to come up and address the council today.
Good evening, Jessica Orsini, 231 South Hickman Street. So I noticed the topic of today's meeting and pulled up the online file and saw the files for it. And so I'm a bit more than mildly curious why the council is now considering rescinding a purchase on what was the lowest bid in a sealed bid packet, after previously voting not once but twice without opposition for that bid in the bid packet, in some sort of reason that does not have the, how can I put this, appearance of impropriety? That'd be really good to know. Thank you.
It was brought to me and to my attention after the meeting last week that we had, or whatever week it was, so I don't want to be told that I said the wrong thing. But the last official meeting, regular scheduled meeting we had, this was in the packet, was discussed. There was some discrepancy over discussion, and when discussion could be had in the motion process and so forth like that. And so what happened was there was a motion and a second. At that point, we couldn't have discussion, the way I understood it, okay?
All right.
So there was no discussion, and it was brought to me that a lot of people were frustrated and that it went so through quickly, we didn't have some discussion. I personally would like to have a little more discussion on any topic that we have before we just vote, when it comes to capital expenditures, those kind of things. So that's what was brought to me, and I was requested, and then I requested the opportunity to have the meeting.
So this is for correction of a procedural issue.
A procedural issue that caused, I think, some people would say it caused confusion. I would ask those that wanted the meeting to speak up as well in this situation.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, the meeting went through, and there's other details that came out, and as all the aldermen, nobody discussed it. In a situation like this, when you're dealing with a customer of the city, and you're buying at a certain level like we were buying, I think it's the fault of all of us that we didn't discuss this in further than we did, because we had no discussion. And it's a slip up on our part, and as a business person, customer, whatever, anybody, I think we owe to do it the right way. And people make mistakes. We made a mistake, I feel, and
And by business in the city, I assume you're referring to Forest Chevrolet, correct?
correct.
Who I believe provided the highest bid in the packet.
That is correct.
Okay, that's what I need to know. Thank you.
Good.
Alderman Rogers, do you consider non-business owning taxpayers customers of the city as well?
Everybody's the same, but
Everybody's the same?
well, businesses should be considered a lot higher because they pay a lot more. And when I think we need to discuss this more, when we weren't talking that much percentage being over. And they supply a lot of tax base to this town. They employ a lot of taxpayers that pay taxes in this town. They do a lot for this town, and I'm considering this as any business. I don't care, small, big, it can be anybody. So I'm not just picking one source at all. But when you go out of town, they pay zero to this town.
Except, of
So,
course, for employees.
as a business person, I'm speaking up and defending the businesses in this town. So, we've gotta keep this town running, they're a major customer, you know, so, and residents are customers also. So, but it all leads back, I didn't think we discussed this very good. There's a lot more to the whole thing, and we did not discuss this, there was no discussion. So, I feel we needed to have a little discussion. So, that's what I'm saying.
How did you go through two votes? You and Alderman Borman, how did you go through two votes without discussing? You're both very able public
There was only one
speakers.
vote on this.
I was under the impression you voted on it in committee the week before.
No,
No.
But
That's
there
the
was,
problem with the
there was a,
letter to the
there was
editor.
two votes at
there
night.
was a voice vote, then we did a
Did a
roll
roll
call.
call vote.
So there were two votes, but they all were at the same time.
Was to validate who was voting out with a roll call that night.
How is it that you moved to silence? That's normally not. Like I said, you're both very able public speakers.
I kind of figured it was a done deal, and I figured it didn't make any difference at that point. The vote had already been made once by voice vote, but then they wanted a roll call vote. I went along with what everybody else did. I think that I made a mistake in doing that, but that's beside the point.
Thank you, sir.
I apologize for belaboring the point, Alderman Rogers. However, to say that the employers in Columbia contribute nothing to the city ignores the number of people in the city who work in Columbia. The gentleman who owns Forest Chevrolet, he certainly has to vote, assuming he's a city resident, when he goes to the ballot box, just as do the rest of us. It was the highest bid in the packet, and if the sale of one vehicle is going to jeopardize all those jobs you're talking about, then Forest Chevrolet has a larger problem than anything this city could do about it.
Okay, we purchased, I don't know the timeline, 3 weeks before that, we purchased a vehicle that was purchased out of state. And it was, the numbers are there, it was pretty, we did the right thing there. I agree. And because of that purchase, we lost a vehicle, so now we have to replace that vehicle. And I feel the city, I don't know, what is the purchase price of this vehicle that we're talking about now?
Right around 25, 26.
That's what it's costing us today. So, as being, well, you're looking out for the taxpayers, are we looking out for the taxpayers? Because now we're having to spend a lot of money. So, if we would have maybe discussed it a little bit, who knows how the outcome would have been.
I mean, let's put all the facts on the table. This vehicle was in the budget for this fiscal year regardless. We were planning on buying one. And we're in this point, as a business owner, reneged on their deal. They made an agreement with us, they didn't like a decision we made, and they pulled a vehicle back. We wouldn't even be having this discussion in May about a vehicle. We'd be discussing it, what, December timeframe?
What was the agreement with that truck?
The lease was up in January, so we were going to, but we would have looked in December, so that whenever that
So
truck went back.
we're in this because the business owner did not like us making the
What?
right decision for this community in buying that first vehicle.
I'm not so sure that was the right decision.
You know,
Alderman Hudson, if I may ask, who was that business owner that rescinded the deal?
for a Chevrolet.
Thank you, sir.
It boils down to the fact that in our role where we're at and where we sit, we have to make sure that there is no opportunity for people to have a look and to feel that there's potential impropriety just due to the fact of relationships, okay?
Yes, sir.
So I'm gonna tell you right now, that was a deal that probably, and we all can look back, so I'm not blaming anybody, but I'm gonna tell you, you have to think seriously about what you accept and what you're gonna do and when it's gratis, okay? Probably the best thing is that the truck got taken back before, as far as I'm concerned, with us and our administration, what I'm doing here. I don't want anybody to think that anybody's winning a bid due to the fact that they have given us a vehicle to use for 2 or 3 years. That started with our last police chief. It was inherited by all of us that are in this situation today, the roles that we're in. And I'm glad that that happened, because now it doesn't cast any opportunity for speculation that we are in somebody's pocket, or we've got a buddy system, or the police department potentially benefiting and looking the other way, which I know doesn't happen. So let me state that. I don't believe that that's happened, but there's always that opportunity for people to think that, right? So that to me is something that was inevitable. I think it's a good thing. I think there are good things that can come from what we're dealing through right now. To me, it's embarrassing that we're having to do this, okay? And I have some very, very, very strong feelings about us needing to be able to talk to one another in front of here, with James here, whoever's here, in front of God and everybody, if you so believe, and be able to discuss this to a point that we can walk out of here as a group and it not be mentioned. It was not mentioned, there wasn't a problem until it got to a point that there was letters to the editor and so forth like that. That much dissension. That's a pretty strong statement. Thus, the reason I have a lot of people here that typically probably aren't in here in a special meeting. Piqued your interest, you wanna know what's going on. Well, we're gonna get through this and we're gonna address it. And that night, I believe myself, without question, there should have been more discussion. Okay, because there are some factors and things to look at. But I'm the mayor that's talking to you that broke a 2-2 tie and did not buy a truck from Forrest because it was $3,400 and it was too much money. At some point, you have to decide, where does buying local end? That was put in my lap.
Can I add something real quick on that?
For what it's worth, I have not seen the letter to the editor,
Okay, well,
but I saw there was a special meeting and that pertained to us.
I can believe that.
On the truck for the water department, got bids off state bid. That's the cheapest way to get a truck for the city. It's like the equipment. We went through the state bids. I took the state bids out to Brad, showing we need a truck like this. Can you do this for us? I said, it needs to be spot on or right at it. That's what I said. I made 3 trips out there, trying to work something out so he had all the information. We got the bid back, it's $3,400, $3,500, whatever it was, over. That's how that was presented. I'm not sure where Bob was with on the police truck, if it was the same situation, but
The police vehicle that was recently bought a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, specs were put in the paper, the request for bids were put out just as they're supposed to be. You know, they were put out on the website, in the newspaper, on Facebook, everywhere they were put out. The only bid we received was one we accepted.
on the truck that we're discussing now, was that, did Brad see any of that?
The one that,
The state bid stuff with the Colorado Ranger?
he knew it, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, so he had the.
I just want to point that out. It was, I mean, we're trying to work, and we bought vehicles from them, so it doesn't matter to us, but it is money to be kicked.
There are things you have to think about, right? When you look at this, the vehicle may be $1,000, $1,200 more, $1,500 more. You can pretty easily justify buying local with one of those opportunities, because the fact is, it's maybe a Chevrolet, okay? If you buy a Ford, we have to go somewhere to have a Ford vehicle service, okay? Understand we have to bid. So what's the time of officers worth? What's the time of, if you have a recall, because I don't know when you call the car that hasn't had a recall in my past. So there's ways for me us to be able to make a decision of a bid that is higher, somewhat, and it'd be okay. Because there are things you have to think about, being available immediately today versus 8 weeks from now, right? So those are things that we do take in consideration, but I would hope that when we make that decision and we walk out of here, that we could look anybody in the face, unless James asking me for the paper, or you asking me on the street, or somebody at church or whatever, asking, why did we spend more on that vehicle? See in the paper, I can explain to it with 3 points, that with this, this, and this, and something that they can put a number to, and in their mind, there's standard cost associated with that, which validates the spend. If we can't do that, then we're making the wrong decision. If we cannot do that, we are making the wrong decision. If we cannot validate what we did and why we did it, And it comes down to dollars and cents in what we do most of the time, really, when it comes to capital, right, expenditures. So the bottom line is, if we can't do that, then that's probably where we got our answer, what we probably should be doing in our decision making. Does that make sense?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And to add to that, if we would have had discussion and the outcome would have been like it is, yeah, it's a done deal. But when we failed to have discussion, then when you walk out of here, you can't bail it, you get a sick feeling, what have we done? And when you can't look the people straight in the eye and say, we discussed this, we're doing the right thing, we didn't do that. And when you can't do that, you didn't do the right thing. And we owe it to anybody to do the right thing. That's why we're here.
Yes, sir.
And that's why if we can't fix it, we can't fix it, but we're gonna have some discussion. And if the outcome's the same, we walk out of here, that's the way it's gonna be. Then you can look that person in the eye and say, we did all we could. But I feel, and I've been in a lot of situations, I'm gonna 100% say we did not do what we could have done. And I blame me as much as, and I voted yes for the last time too. But I feel bad. And the mayor just said, if you can't feel good about what you did, without discussion, we failed, so.
Yes, sir.
Just to clarify,
Your
Mayor.
name and address, tell us.
Oh, Ryan Russell, Tully Brook. That state bid is public information, right?
Absolutely.
So Forrest could have got on there and theoretically
Absolutely.
saw what the state
Absolutely.
bid was and knew that.
There's no question online that this local business has the opportunity to know where they need to be.
Thank you.
I will always support local businesses over somebody from out of town when I can. That doesn't mean I'm gonna get ripped off by them. But I will pay more to shop local than I will for somebody out of town. Because those local businesses support this community. They support it at a higher tax rate than you pay as an individual. They support it by making donations to the schools and to things like Back to Blues. When you do something and you don't give them at least some preferential treatment, how much more of this do you think they're gonna do? How many more donations will Back to Blue get from Brad Forrest? Because, you know, we just kind of spit on him.
Are you implying that only businesses are the only ones that donate to things like Back to Blue?
No. But businesses contribute probably by far the most.
And it's our job, just like a salesman, his job is to make sure his customers succeed in business. And he has to call on those customers and make sure that they got the right stuff, the right inventory, whatever. It's our job to make sure the businesses in this town succeed, because if they start dropping, we could have a little bit of a problem.
He's got 38 employees out there right now. All those people shop here locally. I won't say all of them.
Do they?
Most of them shop here locally. So they're spending sales tax money that the city gets. If he has to cut his employment in half because the local people don't support his business, we've lost a lot of money in sales tax. We've lost money in other things, in other taxes from him.
I don't.
That's why we support our local businesses.
I was unaware, Alderman Borman, that the city's purchase would have such an influence over.
I didn't say, I said if we don't, as a community, support our local businesses, and that includes the city.
We have to be fiscally responsible. I will tell you, I bought 2 vehicles from Forrest Chevrolet. Only 2 newer vehicles I've bought since I've lived in this state. Doesn't mean they got my business just because they're right here. Did they get some preference? Yeah, I'll pay a couple $100 more for something, knowing that I can get an oil change by calling them up and they'll come pick it up. Yeah, that's a service. But we still have to be fiscally responsible. There's a value to those extra ads. And as a business, or as a community, we have to be fiscally responsible though. There's a value to it, but what is that value? It wasn't $3,400.
At what point, and this is something good that's gonna come from this, we're gonna put some procurement guidelines in that we don't have in place today. We're a little town that's been growing for years, so you can't point the finger at anybody and say, boy, that bunch screwed up. We've grown, but we now need to go back and dot our i's and cross our t's in a lot of ways, okay? That needs to be done. I talk to her all the time about it. I'm in the office quite a bit, she'll tell you, and we're looking at running the city as a business, which we have, but there are things that are left undone or haven't been addressed that need to be addressed in today's day and time, okay? And so there is value. I got put in the spot of where does that value in? Well, we're gonna clearly, as a group, decide what does that look like? Because I absolutely go to, I want Richie's to be open, because when I need plumbing stuff, I don't have to go to Lowe's or somewhere else. I can't find anything in another place. My church in town here, I just can't find it. And I'm handicapped, I guess, in the brain. But my point is, I absolutely do too, as well as Don Borman was saying here, Alderman Borman. The bottom line is, I try to, but I consciously too have to make a decision at some point. And I can guarantee if you talk to 8 out of 10 people that are buying a car for their home, it's their second largest purchase they're gonna make, I don't think they're gonna spend $3,400, and you can't buy anything for less than $25,000 now that's new. Okay, and mine, if you can find them, I couldn't fit in it probably, if you can, let's put it that way. If you have to have a spark plug hooked to you, probably make it move. That being said, we have some things to do to be better. And from this, I want better things to come, if that makes sense. And I hope that you all understand that we're gonna do some growing up and catching up of some things that I think have fell through the cracks and just haven't been addressed, or we didn't really know they needed to be addressed. Now we're starting to proactively look for things that need to have attention. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
And that's what I'm planning on us doing. And we're doing that as a team. It's not me, the mayor, running things. I'm not. I'm running another business, and I'm the mayor of Centralia, which I'm very proud to be. But I want to be proud of who I work with and what we do and how we do it for you folks. And we have to do that. We have to be fiscally responsible, take the money, make it go as far as it should for the most people, for the most good. At some point, we have to have some guidelines, and we're going to build those. Don't have them, so we're kind of flying loose. So I was the first guy to have to really make a decision, probably in a long time, to come to a vehicle and choosing to break a tie and not buy local. Okay?
I have one last.
One thing,
Yes, Alderman Rogers, I want to respond to something that you said, and then I'll shut up. You made the statement that it is the job of the city council to make sure that our local businesses succeed. No, sir, it is the job of the city council to provide a level playing field for our local businesses. That is the job of the city council. And when government gets in the business of deciding that they're going to make sure that businesses succeed, then governments have a funny way of starting to choose in between those businesses and start to choose businesses over their citizens. No, sir, you are wrong.
we have to help. We have to help. And what I was getting ready to say, and if anybody disagrees with this, we have a great community, Centralia, we all live here. We have a lot of things going on, and everybody, there's a lot of organizations. Ford Chevrolet is right in there. They'll be right in there this weekend working it. We have a great community, and we gotta help each other out. And I think we all live here. I don't think anybody's mad at Centralia gonna leave the meeting tonight and move away. I hope not. And we've had this discussion. I think we got one of the best small towns in the state of Missouri. So, you know, it's not like Ford Chevrolet is a business. It's almost like a family. They've been here for a long time, but everybody's equal. That's the whole thing. We're all level. We can't do something special for somebody. We're not gonna do that. But we just have to think about what, if Ford's a low bid, we don't have to take the low bid. But you gotta look, you gotta weigh that out like the mayor said, and it's close, and we need to set those guidelines. I understand that, so we don't have a guessing game in here. But what are they worth to Centralia? They're part of us.
It's not
And
what are they worth, what is the value add that they're providing worth? And it can't be those extra things that were mentioned in the letter to the editor. I'm sorry, they're donating cars for parades and stuff. That does not have an impact on this decision. Does it have an impact on our community? Do we appreciate it? Yes, we do. But it cannot have an impact on the decision.
Because if it did have an impact on the decision, that would be known as a quid pro quo, and that is very much illegal, sir.
Correct.
Not gonna happen.
What can impact that was on the letter that was sent out would be things like, we've got to send somebody to another city to get maintenance done on it. Yeah, that's a legitimate expense for this community that we need to take into consideration. Those types of things, yes.
Alderman
The
Hudson.
extra things that are done, no.
Alderman Hudson, do I understand correctly that the second lowest bid on there was for a Chevrolet vehicle?
No.
It was a Chevrolet, but it was through the state bid from,
Well, no, not that it was from for a
Oh, but it was a Chevrolet.
Yeah,
Yes, it was a
Presumably-
Chevrolet.
And presumably,
The-
any Chevrolet vehicle would be able to be
Non-brand
serviced for a
Chevrolet.
Chevrolet.
yes.
Absolutely, that's right.
All right, thank you very much.
Now, I would say, to answer that, and what I know today and knew then, $700 and having it immediately, okay? I understand what you're saying, but a Chevrolet versus not having to go out of town, that was one of the things you think about versus a Ford or whatever, right? That being said, $700 difference to me, having the vehicle immediately versus 8 weeks to potentially 12 weeks when we need a vehicle, okay? Probably, I would have no problem at that point doing that. Just so you understand how I'm trying to rationalize this, okay? Now, if it was $2,500, now I got a problem. I gotta figure something out, you follow what I'm saying? So when we look at this, and I do this all the time when it comes to capital and budgets and all that kind of thing, you have to have a business case of why you do something, what your return on investment would be, even if you pay more money up front. What's that gonna look like in tax base that we're getting? And to be honest with you, if it's that close and they're gonna have to service a vehicle that they didn't sell, I think at that point it gets some consideration that we ought to buy it local. If we're gonna buy a GM product, and take close on price to be serviced and taken care of and maintained. Now, that's my philosophy, my thought. I don't get to vote, I don't get to do anything until it gets to me, it's tied. And then it's, then I catch it. 50% of the people are gonna be mad. I'm okay with that, all right? So, just to kind of touch on what you were saying and your point about a GM vehicle, there's a lot of things we have to take into consideration, to be fair, on both sides of the fence for what we're doing for our elected positions that we're expected to do, as well as what we need to do for the community and supporting the community, all members of the community. And while we're making those decisions, those people that are non-business owners, that work out of Centralia, work somewhere else, wherever it may be, we have as much responsibility to them in making a good decision when it comes to buying a capital product as we do being fair to that local business. There's a balancing act there, so everybody wins.
Yes, sir. No, just as a note, having to service a vehicle is a lot like having to sell you hotcakes. It's not something that's exactly an onerous job. Even if it's warranty work, the dealership gets reimbursed by the company, and it's to a tune of $120 an hour labor plus parts, so,
Understand that?
yes, sir.
Any other discussion from the visitors? I appreciate your discussion, I appreciate your interest and your desire to be here and your input. I think it's very critical, and I think it's very good. James?
If this really isn't, I'll say germane, but it might not be the right word, please go ahead and send me down the road on it. But is it really fair to compare the truck you're talking about to a police car? Because it's my impression that with the police car, the police department has to jump through a lot of hoops as far as additional expenses for equipment and installation of light bars, radios, etc. And use anybody, I can't think of another auto dealer right now, Offenburg, for example, would not be able, they could provide the city of Centralia the base police car, I don't know, Charger or whatever, but they still have to go elsewhere to get all that stuff, which makes this firm in Oklahoma or Colorado, wherever it was that you dealt with before, it kind of makes for really an apples versus oranges discussion. Am I correct there?
I would say you are. That's why probably we ended up down there, they had all the attributes that you needed on the vehicle.
It met all the specs, and the vehicle actually came in under budget with lights, siren, and everything on it, and stuff that we didn't have to put on. Only thing we had to do was put a radio in it and put some antennas on top of it, did radio.
And that's part of the reason why for a lot of years you ended up buying from the highway patrol.
Right, and
Not because you
the
didn't
reason
like
we went away
somebody.
from the highway patrol is, the fact is, highway patrols is 50 to 55,000 miles. This last vehicle I bought had 370 miles on it. So,
Okay, I just,
yeah, so, I mean, the fact is, and then it was actually cheaper than what the highway patrol was sold me one for, 55,000 miles.
I just wanted to clarify that I think I'm right in thinking that buying a patrol car
It's different than.
is different than,
It's apples and oranges, because the fact that patrol cars are
The
dangerous
equipment,
vehicles.
it's like buying a fire truck versus as well.
Right,
You know,
yes.
right, a first
Special
responder
duty.
vehicle, something, you know, a lot more money on that side. You're right, good point. Any other discussion? Again, I appreciate it. At this point, there would have to be a motion and a second and a vote to rescind the original, vote from our prior meeting.
I'll make a motion, we rescind the first approved motion.
Okay, it's, there's been a motion, it's been, to rescind the prior approval, the purchase of the Ford, truck that was, purchased and voted on. Last meeting's been seconded, by Councilman, Mormon. We're gonna do a roll call vote, is that correct?
This would be your time for discussion if you want to have any additional discussion about it.
Additional discussion at this point. We've had a lot of discussion, I think, in a lot of ways about it already, but, I would encourage people, this is where if we made a mistake, we didn't talk enough before, okay? And the statement I would have made before, if we'd had discussion, just so I can be clear, what I would have said the fact that I made a decision not to buy a car from, said dealership that's local, of $3,400 difference. I would do it again. I've told him such as that put me in that spot again, you know. This one ended up being $1,200 more. Seemed like to me it was much more in line. Hadn't had a chance to, I think it's the first time in a long time that Ford's probably has got two vehicles in a row. The third one, this one here, if it doesn't get rescinded, okay? But I did mine of no, I make that statement with no threat of business being moved or anything like that by a local business. That does not affect me at all. I would say it then, or I would say something completely honest, even if it was counterproductive to wooing somebody that's a local business. So, just so you all know, that's my thought on that. I would open it up for discussion with all the rest of you folks to talk about it very directly.
I don't understand why it's bid so high. I mean, a Chevy and a Chevy, the difference is, his and Joe Mawkins is $1,200, and between Joe Mawkins and Don is $497. And it's the same state bid, but he's still the highest bid and lives here in town, and the business here in town. And the trucks are pretty equal.
State bid trucks don't cut, you don't, have them on the lots, you have to order them. They always come with like
He
this.
had an option to bid it at a state bid.
Yeah, is Forrest not able to make that?
I don't know.
Purchase in the state?
But he offered
No.
one that was available.
On the state contract, I mean.
No, they have, Don Brown is the state, for Chevrolet is the person for that, Mawkins is for Ford,
Okay.
and that's kinda how that set up.
I would like to point out too that it's brought to my attention that if you go online and look at this truck, it is about $353 less than what this bid is. But if you look at all the little asterisks and the conditions, you do have to go through dealer financing to get that price, and that's not something that we're interested in doing. And so he said he would honor that price if we wanted to go that route.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yeah.
Okay. Just to let y'all know, I think I can answer your question too, Lane. The truck he's offered is not a state bid truck. And that's, I know that. There are some differences, because if you look at some of the stuff that comes with it and such as, it is not a state bid truck. If we did a state bid truck for him, it'd be just like anybody else. Ford Ranger, when I talked to the guy down at Ford about the Ranger, he was telling me August 27th was probably the delivery date. I don't care. Okay, doesn't make a difference to your police chief. The one he was offering to us is the one he had on the lot. So, I mean, that's the difference, I think, the $400 something difference is it wasn't a state bid vehicle.
It's a special edition, because I looked at it, and this all arose, I don't know where I was at, I don't know where I was at in the United States, but I was somewhere, and I was 11:30 at night, and I looked at the Memorial Day sales for what he had on, what he was telling me, talked to Heather the next morning about it, and then I had looked at, I looked at, McCosh and Riley. Looked at all Chevrolets, I didn't look at any Fords, just telling him, that's what I did. And he was right in there with that, but the one that he had was not just a regular work truck, a WT. It's got a special edition on it, which has got some other features that make it a little more comfort type features, which end up making the vehicle worth more when you go to sell it. That I will say. Now, I know that just because the work truck is what you'd be getting with the other one. To back up what you were saying, that's the difference in the $400 what it was, I believe. No question.
Also, I think we gotta forget about the truck being taken away. We had the first bid, this is a separate bid altogether. We have to look at where he's came and the price difference. It's a pretty good bid. I mean, the first bid was, like I say, it was way steep. This one is a lot better.
Well, I'm gonna disagree with you on that, Don. I don't think we should exclude that, because that has an impact on why we're in this position, why we're spending the money now. Money has a cost of money. There's, interest and those types of things that we're gonna have 6-7 months worth of that we wouldn't have had if we had to finance this. He backed out on an agreement.
So on that lease deal, Heather, did he come to us or did we go to him on that lease deal?
Originally, I know that he came to us with the deal, but the fire chief wasn't as forthcoming with information as the current chief is, so I don't know how it came about this time, because we did give that truck back last June. We gave it back, and then we received it again in August or September.
Here's what I'll tell you, I know, okay? I'll tell you about the whole deal as far as I know. The lease was never actually held by us, okay?
That's correct.
The lease was never held by us. The lease was held by Forest Chevrolet. He essentially lent it to us, as long as we carried the insurance on it and did the maintenance on it, oil change, blah, blah, blah. When I came back on, he and I had a conversation. He said I was welcome to come get it, because he says, really, it's still on 2-year lease. I can't do anything with it anyway, which was what we did. And like I said, after this whole rigmarole thing, you know what? I'm much like the mayor. I'm glad to be done with it, because the fact is, it doesn't give anyone a question of an impropriety. And you all know I'm about as open as I can possibly be, and the fact is, I'm not gonna try and hide anything from anybody. I'm responsible to the citizens, just as you are. So, like I said, whatever you do is what you do.
So with the lease and the commitments and all that, what is it? I mean, it was just a lot of stuff, wasn't it?
It was a verbal.
It was all verbal.
It was a verbal, he was doing it as a token of goodwill.
Which is not a
to the police
good thing
department, I
either,
understand
but,
it. It was a personal lease in his name from Jim as a GM employee. These things I know is a fact. And he can't do anything with that vehicle till it runs out. The truck is his, he can't really do anything with it. We talked about buying that truck from him and keeping it here and to find out what prices for that, right? Originally, he said he couldn't do that because he said he had to keep, that it was in his name, it was in the lease, and he had to run the lease through before he could do anything with the vehicle. That's a fact of the lease agreement. So you know exactly what it was. It's a personal lease of his as a GM employee, given to us gratis to the police department, and he has signage in the windows which says Forest Chevrolet.
Well, we've had a lot more discussion than we did the first time, that's for sure. So that's what we had to do. So.
Any other comments or additional needed discussion? Speak now or forever hold your peace. I've heard that somewhere, right?
So if we're sitting here, we're talking about this right now, there's a motion to rescind the approval. Is that what we need to get into the dollars and cents discussions? That was the way
No, this is the dollars and cents
So we can
discussion
take-
right now.
This is it.
So then, what is that $1,200 worth to us? what is the impact of buying the Ford, from Hopkins and having to go to Columbia? What do we know? What's a day's, if somebody's gotta go drive a truck down there and sit for the day?
I think, I'll say this, and look, I'm the guy that broke the tie, right? So, the bottom line is this, I know that the vehicle's probably worth $400 today, more it will be when we sell it, do the features that are on the truck. But I think there's that difference that's, is a black and white dollars and cents difference. I believe there's also the difference that we have, what's it worth, I don't know, you all tell me. We have the vehicle immediately, we get back in the vehicle, we're not scrounging around and figuring out what we're doing, the Bumblebee looks good on you, Bob. But I'm not trying to, that shouldn't be the only reason we do it, but is there some value to be able to have it now? Potentially. You all tell me, it's all your decision, you're gonna vote on it.
What are we paying on mileage to the chief in his own vehicle,
50 cents a mile.
which is coming out to,
When he drives,
I wouldn't even turn it in.
when he drives the Bumblebee, it's unbelievable profit, I think, probably. He don't go very many miles per hour, but,
They take Blue Grade.
good question.
Estimated wages in AEB, if you're looking at one officer
56
gone for a
an hour.
whole 8 hours a day, a whole 8-hour day, you're looking at about $220 a day.
but he's not on the road like the officers are. We've heard that comment before.
Well, and I don't get coupled, but,
So driving your own vehicle is worth, I do mileage today, they pay 54 cents a mile. It's higher,
Just
50 now,
50.
went down, you're right, went down 50 cents a mile, that's full, IRS, dollars to you, 50 cents a mile. If you drive 400 miles, then it's $200, so if we say it's $200, and we can get the vehicle 2 months earlier, that's $400.
So I mean, how many?
And I think that's very fair, and I will say it's worth
We've been
that.
doing this for a week or two.
I'll be honest with you, I haven't kept track of it.
And
You're not helping us in the, make.
Well, because the fact is, I'm sorry, but the biggest share of the time, I try and drive that black and yellow thing, because the fact is, like I said, I'm not burning my gas, and the fact, I live 3 blocks away from the police department,
Yes.
you know.
I mean, it doesn't, it's hard to make a case then.
I understand that, I
Yeah, if
understand
we were
that.
able to say you're driving 200 miles a week, $100,
Exactly.
$100 a week, and it's gonna be 8 weeks, well, there's $800, yeah, then we're starting to get somewhere where we can develop an actual case
It
and
doesn't
say
have the
yes.
same impetus to get it quickly.
But if you figure $200 a day, you said, for an officer to be gone,
Yes, but that's not, if it's the
That's a-
cheap, the
that's a-
cheapest
Mine's a
salary,
little
so
off.
doesn't.
Well, I realize that,
would be a
but
patrol.
say somebody else goes and say $200 a day, and you gotta go down there for oil changes, you gotta go down there for warranty work, it doesn't take very long to eat up that money.
You don't have to go down there for oil changes, there are
No, oil
places in
changes.
town that will do oil changes on any make of
That's
car
true.
that you have.
The only 2 people that will deal with service on any of these vehicles will both be salaried employees. Will be him and me. So,
So you wouldn't be losing a patrol
the
officer.
$400 stays in the community too. So, I mean, to me, that weighs a lot.
We're still talking $1,200.
Pardon?
From the current approved truck, we're talking $1,200.
Yeah,
$1,200 difference, we pay more, exactly right.
stays in the community, yeah.
There have been studies,
What's the business case for it?
there have been studies in the past that talk about how much money, if you spend money locally versus spending money out of the community, how much that helps the community. And it's been said in the past, and I've seen these figures, it's been many years since I've seen them. I would assume they're probably still the same. But a dollar that's spent in the community goes around 5 times before it goes out of the community. You spend money outside the community, the money's just gone from the community.
Unless you have the
And
source
we do
to
not get-
validate that. I'm not saying I disagree with the concept, and I agree with spending money here. I do the bulk of my shopping that I can within town. Like I said, I bought 2 vehicles from Forrest. But we have to be fiscally responsible. How do we develop a business case? I'd love to give Bob a truck next week instead of 8 weeks from now, if that's what it is. But how do we have a business case to clarify that? If we assume he's only gonna drive 50 miles a week that he would claim mileage on, that's only $25. Times 8 weeks, it's only $200. That doesn't close the gap enough where we should, in my opinion, pay more for it. And then, If we're talking a couple $100, it's one thing, we're talking $1,200.
And we don't give opportunity a lot of times to even buy local. A lot of our maintenance stuff is that we have to buy. Electrical department, the water department, it's gotta be bought elsewhere.
You're talking heavy equipment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Even heavy equipment, I mean, we tried to stay local there and we bought from Columbia, so, from an individual that pays tax dollars here in town, so. And that wasn't, and he wasn't the lowest bidder.
You didn't buy the last one from him, I can tell you that.
Well, the first one, no, it was the first one we didn't buy. It was
The last one we did.
Last one we did.
And the one where he wasn't the lowest bidder, there was a reason, there were specifics of the vehicle in question that was fit with our current equipment. I don't remember all the details,
Yeah,
but there was
some of the
very
dimensions.
specific reasons why we did what we did and why we justified paying a higher price. Right now, what is the justification? What is the business case justification to pay a higher price? I'm sorry, it can't be because they put vehicles in the parade. It can't be, you know, those types of things. It's got to be a business decision here.
Well, I can't answer that question. I mean, I guess you just gotta know. And I don't have enough time to explain that.
So what I'm hearing is $1,200 difference. Are we considering anything for the difference in package, even though they would drive whatever they get, right? They're just up to it.
But they want to provide something that's got extra in it. I don't think that should actually be an impact. Is there a benefit?
If
to
it's
the
worth
city?
that much more when you sell it, it does have an impact.
10, 15 years from now,
How?
we hold on to vehicles?
Yeah, what's that gonna bring 15 years from now when we sell it through the paper?
I
On
got it
gov
for
bids.
15 years.
It's 10,
It-
we're on a 10-year replacement, and so
Okay,
with this
10
truck, we're
years.
just simply cheap driving it.
What's it gonna
It's a
bring in
10-year
10 years?
replacement.
On a
It's
state
going to be up for bid and you,
We hand the trucks down to the park.
Yeah, oh yeah, it'll probably go to the park, we won't actually get to sell it.
So the
till
park's gonna get a luxury truck.
Well, yeah, by that time. they'll-
Well, hold on. Luxury truck is not what we're getting here. Okay? No, I'm serious, guys. The fact is, you're talking $400 here. I'm sorry, but the fact is, luxury truck is not what it is. Yeah, it's got electric windows and electric locks. Just about every vehicle does. It's got a backup camera. Okay, so what? Every
How many
other vehicle
couple?
does too. What?
How many couple?
2. And those are standard. Don't pay extra for those. But the fact is that Landon says a luxury truck. No, it's not a luxury truck. It is still a work truck.
That's a WT.
It's still a WT work truck as Chevrolet classifies them as. I'm gonna give you my opinion. This is only Felicia's opinion. The fact is I don't really care as to if that vehicle that Ford Chevrolet has is $1,200. He did do a good job when he brought it down, because it was originally $26,693. And when I talked to him about the bid thing, I said, you're gonna have to be close to 24 grand if you can. Okay? And he did do that. He did come down quite a bit on it. I think, what is the bid, 25,900?
not
25,997. So there's a clarification. I don't know where the $400 is coming into play. The difference between the Ford Chevrolet bid and the Don Brown Chevrolet bid is $722.
Okay.
And that's the
Not
400, that's where the $400 is, okay, so.
And then there's.
Correct.
I'm talking, I brought from Don to Joe Mockins,
Oh,
was
okay.
about $500.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, if that's the difference
You're right.
from,
You're correct.
so.
Okay.
He's giving us what he's got on the line.
Right now, best guess, $200 in mileage over 8 weeks.
Well, like I said, I don't know. You know, like I said, I'm driving the Bumblebee the biggest share of the time, because the fact is, I don't want to put, I'll be honest with you, I don't want to put this stuff on my truck. 50 cents a mile doesn't cover operating my truck,
There's gonna be mileage.
but 50 cents a mile does not cover the wear and tear on my truck. I'll just let you know that.
I don't think you're gonna change anybody's mind, let's vote.
Is there any more discussion wanted or needed?
Is there anything else we can come up with to offset a $1,200 difference? Right now, spitballing, $200. You know, in some island. Maybe
Probably
it's
not that's gonna satisfy you.
not $300.
I mean,
It
I
doesn't
don't,
have to, for me, it doesn't have to cover 1,200. It's gotta be close where it's a reasonable thing where we can say it's the right choice to make.
I think it's the right choice.
Can I
What facts?
throw one more thing in here?
Yeah, go ahead.
3305, that's what we got out of the last police car. That's money that was not budgeted. Okay? The police car we just finished up on gov deals, 3305 is what we got last week. So, you're not talking money that's taking anything away from something,
Additional,
already
additional
budgeted.
funds that weren't planned for.
Correct.
Well, I mean,
so just to let you know.
replacement of the units.
But if I remember correctly, any of these vehicles were coming in at a higher price than was in the budget anyway, so some of
Yes.
that money's already,
Right.
Mhm.
even the Ford was over budget.
Yes.
If there's no further discussion, then I say it's time to do a roll call vote.
Alderman Magley,
no.
Alderman Rogers,
Yes.
Alderman Borman,
Yes.
Alderman Motley. No. Alderman Hudson,
No.
Alderman Wilkins.
No.
Okay, the vote to rescind the original, decision fails, 4-2. So we will continue on with the purchase and what we decided in the original meeting. As may arise, what I have and would ask that you folks think about as we leave here, I've had a lot of discussion and a lot of feedback, kickback to me, business, people that like to charge, those kind of things. A lot of discussion around, the pay at the pump, okay? I would like for us all to have homework assigned, okay? I would like for us to try to reach out to constituents, ask them, just ask the question, not lead them into a decision. I mean, kind of, what were they thinking? And I would like to get that feedback so we can make sure, in talking to, Neville and some of the other folks, and since it's come up, I've had probably, I'd say a lot, I've probably had 25 citizens. Of those 25, a couple were business owners. I think, Don Rogers had some of the same people, few of the same, especially the business people. Concerned, frustrated, gonna buy bulk tanks and put them at their office so that when they pull through the trailer, they can go in one time. They don't know how much diesel they're gonna get. They wanna buy stuff when they're in store as well. If it becomes a real hassle for them, they put it on charge credit. That's coming. It hasn't been in effect yet. Just bringing up what they said. So just, and I know that as I look at over here, that traveling the world, it's my world. I have to pay at the pump or pay inside. In the rest of the world, it doesn't exist to have the option that they'll look out the window and say, yeah, go, you're good. But there is, the Columbia ordinance that they have allows the police department, in the ordinance it states that they will not respond. One of the big issues we had was our police department spending a lot of time going to these things. What it does, it classifies that the police will not respond to drive-offs unless there's been some sort of a felony where there's been an assault or something like that, so it's not just a drive-off at that point. So, think about it. Let's get feedback from the community, folks, okay? I think we need to do a good job of doing that when we're gonna make decisions too, moving forward. Not that I wanna run around and repeal something or whatever, but is there a way for it to be better to serve all the needs that we have? I'm kinda new at this, but I'm not new at managing, projects and things that we need to be doing, research, study, that kind of stuff, okay? So I would ask you all would do that and just kind of report back. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, on that topic, I was very surprised when I had a conversation with a person working at Casey's about the drive-offs, and I asked if they had gotten, pictures of the drive-offs, and she informed me that they don't have a camera.
Right.
That seems to be the kind of self-protection that the business would be interested
Well,
in.
and they're the ones that want to charge their people predominantly when somebody drives off. So, we kind of, I think in the future, some of these things, we need to have an action plan on how we're gonna go out as a group to vet these things and ask some extra questions and ask some people and get some ideas. Does that make sense a little bit? It's where we make an informed decision from the public and then we move forward with it. Not that we've made a mistake, because I agree, to me, it didn't bother me at all, but the feedback I've got, it's bothered a lot of people. I mean, in our little town, 25 people making an effort to get a hold of me about it. It's not my sister, it's not my brother-in-law, people in general. We need to think about it. How do we get the result we need because of the problem and the cost of productivity that we're getting? And if we haven't been able to do that without legislating local businesses how they should manage their business and hold themselves accountable for their profit and loss, okay? They don't want to spend in their stores $1 million worth of cameras because they've got 500 stores, and I guess that's their choice, but then they also have to build in loss because people are gonna drive off their gas. We can't even catch them. We don't even have film, we don't have nothing. It's a wasted effort in our discussions before. So just want to bring that up. You guys, the ladies, go out and just get some feedback on it. I just kind of want to, I want to do a test to know kind of, is it just some people that are cranky and it's different? Because we don't like change. Nobody likes change, right? So if that's it, legitimately that's it, no problem.
I can tell you before the vote, I talked to at least a dozen people, went on my way to ask, and nobody complained about it. They said they'd get used to it.
There you go.
Because I sat in this meeting and I was against legislating. I mean, how many times should I say?
I remember it very well.
I was against legislating, something like that, and based on the conversations I had
Mhm.
before we voted,
Mhm.
I changed my vote because the people were okay with it.
Yeah. I wish I'd asked the question, what's Columbia, what's some other people do around us to manage that and the whole.
Well, Columbia PD is, has a lot more problems than gas drivers, okay? But what I will also add, Mr. Mayor, is, the fact is the public had the opportunity to voice their opinions. It was, I don't know how many times James wrote about it in the paper, or, it was on Facebook, it was this, it was that. So the fact is, the information was out there, they had the opportunity to give us feedback. And, most of the feedback I got was from, of course, business owners. And the fact is, I'm kind of like, I haven't heard any real complaints about it.
Yeah.
They were surprised.
I appreciate that, but we have to also realize a lot of people are uninformed and not in these medias at all. They're not, some people buy the paper, some people don't, there's all kinds of things. So I'm just saying, when this pops up, it's kind of like, it's almost like it grows at some point when they get talking. So, just bring it up. Maybe it's more so than anything, it's for us to think objectively in the future, how we make sure, appreciate, because I agreed with you on that part of it. It didn't bother me, because I have to do it all the time, but legislating business, I don't think was the way maybe to do it, but we've done it, and the bottom line is, I'm okay with that moving forward. It's not that I'm wanting to do anything, I don't want to rescind it at this point, I just want to ask some questions. We don't get anything, we're done with it, no problem. Have no problem telling people what we've done, get used to a different routine. All right, anything else? I think that,
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
motion to adjourn has been, made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?